So one thing that continuously seems to happen every time Manchester United sack a manager or go for a bad spell is that people seem to go overboard in addressing the individual ability of the squad. The Manchester United squad is actually not that bad in my opinion. It's just that we lack quality up front, suitable wing-back profiles and pace and power in the centre, which sounds like a lot, but in this video I'm going to show you how just 3 key signings, as well as integration of some of the under-21s and under-18s, can radically transform Ruben Amorim's squad from one that realistically is probably about 8th to 10th in terms of quality, into one that is capable of finishing 3rd or 4th next season. So I actually think the back 3 and the wing backs when Dorgu and Ahmad are fit is actually pretty good, with players like Dalot and Mazraoui also providing a variety of different tactical options, particularly if Amorim continues to give game time to the youth players, who I'm going to talk about later on in the video. But building on that pretty good base, I think the 3 signings I would sign would probably cost around £140 million, which could be raised through selling Højlund, Dalot, Anthony, Rashford, Sancho, Casemiro hopefully to the Saudis, and releasing players like Eriksen and Lindelof. But who are the 3 key players I would sign in the summer? But before I come on to that, a quick reminder, if you do want to check out any cheap, good quality football jerseys, go over to dragonjersey.com. They've got a variety of different current season and retro shirts, with Manchester United jerseys going all the way back to the early 90s. Depending on where you live, you can get 7 to 12 day delivery time, as well as a 30-day money back guarantee. But if you want to check any of the information, they have got their WhatsApp and email on the site, and if you use code Atlantis at checkout, you will get a 10% discount for a limited time. So I'll leave it linked in the description and in the comment section below, and remember to use code Atlantis for your 10% discount. So who are the 3 players? Well, I've spoken about them in previous videos, which I will leave linked in the eye above, and they are Victor Osimhen, Ederson and Dwight McNeil. Originally I wanted Gyökeres instead of Osimhen, due to Amorim prioritising short quick interplay through the centre of the pitch in the middle third, which at Sporting required a centre forward like Gyökeres who had the ability to drop off and link play in congested areas. However, I have changed my choice of centre forward as I've changed my mind on where the tactical meta of the game is shifting. I think now United would benefit a lot more from having a striker who is aerially dominant inside the opposition's box, and whilst Gyökeres is pretty good in the air, Osimhen is arguably the best in the world in the centre forward position in this particular area. Now I am planning separate videos breaking down tactically how Osimhen's aerial ability, combined with Dwight McNeil's crossing ability, can provide United with a simple way of consistently generating high value chances throughout a game, as well as how Osimhen could aid United during the build-up phase and when defending a lead late on in the game. So make sure you subscribe to the channel and click the bell so you do get notified when those videos come out. But why McNeil and Ederson? Well, McNeil because he's a crossing specialist primarily, as having a crossing specialist like Dwight McNeil from either flank alongside an aerially dominant centre forward like Osimhen is going to allow United to create high value chances even against deep defensive blocks, because McNeil doesn't have to beat his player in a 1v1, he just has to get the ball out of his feet and put in a cross, and with someone like Osimhen inside of the box, you've always got an opportunity of a goal. But it's not just his crossing, it's his overall ball progression, which you can see statistically when we look at his FBref report this season. When compared against all other attacking midfielders and wingers in the league this season, over the 1,140 minutes he has played for Everton, McNeil ranks in the high 90th percentiles for his long passes completed and his crosses into the penalty area, the low to mid 90th percentiles for his passes into the penalty area, key passes and expected assists, and around the 80th to 85th percentile range for his progressive passes, passes into the final third, XG assisted, through balls, switches and the percentage of successful take-ons he completes as well. He reminds me of a modern day mixture between a Ryan Giggs and a David Beckham. Trent's crossing and overall technical ability is obviously the closest to David Beckham's in the modern game, but I don't think that McNeil's quality is far off that, and the stats show that he also has the consistency in his output. But what I really like about McNeil is his versatility, as I could see his varied skill set allowing him to either play on either flank as a wing back, but also in central positions in a few different roles as well. However, the key signing in central midfield would be Ederson, as whilst I would be incredibly excited about a potential partnership between McNeil and Osimhen, I think Ederson could be the ideal Casemiro upgrade and the missing cog in Amorim's central midfield. See, if you look at Newcastle's midfield, I think stylistically they have a perfectly balanced midfield. Tonali, Bruno Guimaraes and Joe Linton as a midfield trio have the key attributes that I think make a successful midfield setup in the modern game, particularly in the Premier League, and that's athleticism, physicality, defined and disciplined roles out of possession, as well as creativity and ball carrying ability. And we saw how important Joe Linton was in the League Cup against Liverpool, with Guimaraes on the other side also having a similar sort of athletic ability to Joe Linton, trading some physicality for technical ability and creativity, whilst Tonali not the most athletic or physical physical player, has the defensive awareness to position himself correctly centrally, whilst Joel Linton and Guimaraes perform the water-carrying roles out of position, shuttling out to the wide areas to prevent overloads, cut out crosses, and track runners into the box. And I think both Ugarte and Ederson would be perfect for these type of roles, either side of Bruno Fernandes in a midfield three, with Xerxes positioned just ahead at the top of a diamond or a 3-1 shape, with Osimhen ahead as the advanced centre forward. Two of Ahmad, McNeil or Dorgu in the wing-back positions. My preference would be Ahmad on the right and McNeil on the left, with Dorgu also providing a more defensively secure, aggressive and athletic option at left wing-back, able to either replace McNeil or allow McNeil to shift over to the right and move Ahmad into a more central position in the front three at the top of the diamond. A back three with Heaven and Kokonki as his understudy until Martinez returns, De Ligt as the central centre-back, with Mazraoui to his right, and then you've got Lenny Yoro who could play either centrally or from the right side, or Harry Maguire who could come in as a central centre-back in De Ligt's absence, or if Amorim wanted to shift him to the right side of the back three. Mainu could also come into one of those positions either side of Bruno Fernandes, most likely replacing Ugarte, if Amorim wanted to trade Ugarte's aggressive pressing ability higher up the pitch for Mainu's ball carrying, dribbling and interplay in deeper areas of the pitch in possession, as well as of course his creative threat from the left side of the attack as well. Ederson brings the athletic ball carrying ability that United could utilise when there is a turnover, and the opportunity is there to transition the attack quickly, using Xerxes' deeper movement to drag a defender high and create space ahead, but also to find his feet and allow him to link play as well. And with Osimhen's ability to spin the channels and dominate these kind of duels, alongside the pace of Ahmad, Ederson and McNeil running ahead of Xerxes, with Bruno Fernandes' creativity centrally and the pace in the back line behind, I think Amorim would have a very good setup of players, and that's not even including the young players who could be integrated into the first team setup. Aidan Heaven's recent performances alongside Kokonki being a very good option as well, saves us maybe £20 to £25 million in the summer, because whilst I had suggested Alexander Ribeiro from Lille as pretty much a stopgap left-sided centre-back until Martinez returns, I think I'd just go with Heaven and Kokonki, and one of De Ligt or Yoro if needed as the left-sided centre-back. But there's also Bendito Mantato, who is actually a player who I preferred in the first team to Quenda, as not only would he save us £45 to £50 million, he's a similar age, maybe a year younger, but he also has a lot of similar attributes, having also played as both a winger and a fullback in the youth setup, meaning that I think his skill set as well as his positional experience lends itself to being used as a wing-back on either side. But whilst Mantato is closer stylistically to Ahmad, Amas and Jayden Camerson are closer to Dorgu, being stylistically more like fullbacks and wingers, and I think both players could be used as third choice options at wing-back throughout the course of a season, allowing Amorim to use either Ahmad or McNeil in a more advanced central position, potentially Dorgu as a left-sided centre-back, or just to provide these players with rest and recovery time throughout the congested parts of the season. I'd also personally look to move on Toby Collier for between £10 to £15 million and have Sekou Kone and Tyler Fletcher vying for his position in the squad, Jim Thwaites and Jack Fletcher competing to replace Christian Eriksen. Jayden Camerson could be used as a right-sided centre-back or a right wing-back, which alongside Reece Monroe and Daniel Alma could provide the squad depth necessary to replace Lindelof as either a central centre-back or a wide centre-back. James Scanlon and Gabriel Biancheri vying for a backup role to Garnacho, and Chido Obi Martin or Ethan Wheatley competing for a spot behind Osimhen and Xerxes at centre-forward. That's personally what I would do in terms of the squad building, rather than replacing squad depth players like Eriksen and Collier with stopgap players who would diminish our transfer budget and the overall wages we can allocate. I'd rather just save the budget for the three key signings this summer, McNeil, Osimhen and Ederson, and fill out the squad using the young players, mainly because this will force the head coach, Ruben Amorim now or someone else down the line, to use younger players for squad depth rather than just stopgap players who are declining like Eriksen and Lindelof, who aren't going to be in the squad long term and likely aren't going to bring any funds in for reinvestment. And so that would give Amorim Ederson and Ugarte, who could either play in a midfield double pivot with Bruno and Xerxes ahead, or in more of a midfield diamond with Bruno Fernandes given a creative regista role at the base, and Xerxes playing more like an Enganche sitting at the top of the diamond. Mainu could also play in one of Bruno, Ugarte or Ederson's roles, as could Sekou Kone, which with Dwight McNeil capable of playing on the left side of a midfield diamond, or in one of the two interior forward positions. Ahmad also capable of being used as a right-sided interior forward, as well as players like Jack and Tyler Fletcher, Jim Thwaite and Jacob Devaney gives Amorim a lot of options in central midfield. And even if throughout next season it turns out we don't quite have the quality and depth that we need, if these young players are given sufficient game time, like with Collier in the summer, we could move them on for decent fees and potentially reinvest with someone stylistically similar to Angelo Stiller in the summer of 2026. Xerxes and Osimhen as what essentially would be a front two, with Xerxes playing a more withdrawn role to create that midfield diamond with Bruno Fernandes at the base, or just using greater pace around Osimhen with one or two of Garnacho, Ahmad, James Scanlon or Gabriel Biancheri, I think provides Amorim with a lot of tactical versatility in the front line. And I guess you've even got the option of selling someone like Garnacho for a big fee and reinvesting it with one or two options in the front three or in a front two. And so overall I think this squad would give Amorim greater pace and power, a crossing specialist and a dominant aerial striker, as well as sufficient squad depth, tactical versatility and an adequate amount of young players given minutes in the first team as well. So let me know what you think about that squad in the comment section below, and if you do want to check out any cheap, good quality football jerseys, go over to dragonjersey.com and you can use code Atlantis at checkout for a 10% discount. I'll also leave my Patreon and another video I think you'll like on the end screen now.